welcome to a deep dive all about you. You sent in some fascinating stuff about requite, so let's unpack these interesting ideas. Like, you know, about kindness, forgiveness,
Yeah.
and how we deal with other humans in the world.
What I find fascinating is you're digging into the why behind actions. It's not just like someone returns a kindness, but the motive. What motivates them in the first place?
Yeah, it's like, are they doing it from love?
Or,
Or hoping to get something back?
yeah.
Or just trying to keep things even so no one owes anybody anything?
The source material you sent in really emphasizes that, like, keeping score in relationships can get tricky. It seems fair on the surface. But constantly striving for evenness could mean you miss out on the joy of just giving without
Yeah.
expectations.
Like, does that create distance instead of closeness? Maybe true connection comes from allowing some imbalance sometimes.
It's a good question for sure. It also relates to something else in your notes, that even small gestures can have a big impact.
For sure. You actually shared that story, right? About a stranger's smile just brightening your whole day. And then even took it further and imagined, like, a whole wave of small gestures making society more positive.
Wow, that's a powerful image. Each act of kindness, like a spark. And enough sparks, you've got a wildfire of positivity.
Right. Like, even small actions can ripple outward and make a difference. But then there's this whole other side, right? Forgiveness.
Yeah, forgiveness is complex, more than just forgetting. It's about acknowledging the wrong and choosing to move forward, but with an awareness of future actions.
So not erasing the past, but learning from it.
Exactly. Sometimes choosing to protect yourself, setting boundaries, being cautious with trust. Like, reminds me of another interesting idea you had, the frenemy.
Oh, right. Your own term, right? That space between friend and enemy. The source seems skeptical of the whole good deeds coming back to you thing, but acknowledge that acting kindly can lead to more positive outcomes.
It's so interesting that we shouldn't do good deeds just to get a reward. But maybe there's some sort of karmic balance after all. Maybe putting good out there increases the chance that good comes back to us.
Makes you think about intention, right? Like, are we acting from genuine goodwill or trying to, like, manipulate the universe into giving us what we want?
It's the intention that counts, and that ties in with the frenemy perfectly. Approaching someone with cautious kindness is acknowledging their humanity without expecting anything back.
Choosing to see potential for connection while knowing how complex humans are.
It's a balance, for sure. You're recognizing someone could be a friend, but staying aware that maybe they're not.
Which brings us to another point from your notes, self-care. Because extending kindness, especially when everyone's a potential frenemy, can be draining.
Absolutely. And your source even mentioned this, emphasizing how important it is to prioritize your own well-being, especially when you're feeling depleted from being kind to others. And it's not selfish. It's just recognizing your limits and setting boundaries. So you can keep giving without burning out.
Like they say, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, it's like refilling your well, right? With kindness, compassion. So you have something to share with others.
I like that. And it reminds me of something else you mentioned, true appreciation.
You were thinking about how to tell, right, if someone's really grateful or just going through the motions.
Yeah. Like, is it surface level politeness or are they actually touched? The source you sent seemed to struggle with this too. They'd often just brush off compliments because they weren't sure if they were real.
It makes sense, though, right? It can be tough to accept appreciation if you've been hurt before. It's kind of like self-protection.
Yeah. Like, if you don't let yourself believe the good stuff, then you can't get disappointed when it turns out to be fake.
But then you miss out on the joy of a real connection. You build a wall around your heart. And sure, it keeps the bad out, but the good, too.
So how do we break those walls down? How do we learn to see and receive true appreciation?
Well, your source didn't give exact steps, but they did focus on the little things, like, is their gratitude consistent? Do their actions match their words?
Looking beyond the surface, right?
Yeah.
Not just the big gestures, but those small, everyday acts of kindness.
Exactly. And maybe it takes a little, leap of faith. Being willing to trust that people can be truly appreciative, even if we've been hurt before.
Choosing to believe the best in people, even when it's hard. It strikes me that your whole frenemy thing could be a really good way to actually do that. Because approaching strangers with cautious kindness is like that same leap of faith, but on a smaller scale.
Oh, it's a great point. It's like dipping your toe in the trust pool instead of diving in head first. You're offering warmth, connection, without necessarily needing anything back.
And if they don't do the same, it's fine. You didn't lose anything by being kind.
Right. You were just a bright spot in their day. And who knows, Maybe your kindness will inspire them to be kind to someone else. That ripple effect, remember?
Love it. It all comes back around.
Hmm.
So we talked about requite, forgiveness, frenemies, self-care, and even touched on true appreciation. But it feels like we're just scratching the surface.
We are. These ideas are so intertwined, they really get to the core of what it means to be human.
Yeah. And for you listening, this deep dive is super interesting because it's personal, right?
Yeah.
You aren't just learning about this stuff, you're trying to figure out how it fits into your own life.
That's the real learning, right? Making sense of these abstract ideas within our own unique contexts.
Definitely. So as we move towards wrapping up, let's shift inwards for a bit. Explore how this resonates with you personally.
Love that. Let's take a closer look at your experiences and see what we find.
Let's do it, as we've been talking. One thing that keeps popping up for me is your note about wanting to, move through the world
Hmm.
with more genuine connections.
It's like you're searching for a way to interact that feels authentic and meaningful, without all the expectations and scorekeeping.
All right. And I think that's where this requite thing is so interesting, right? Because it's all about expectations. If someone does something for you, you're supposed to do something back. But what if we could get rid of that whole cycle?
What if we could, approach everything from pure generosity without needing anything in return? It's a radical thought, but it could be pretty freeing, too.
It really is. And it fits with everything we've been talking about,
Yeah.
right? The Fenemy approach, the power of small gestures, self-care, even true appreciation. It all comes back to wanting real connection.
It does. It's like you're creating a whole new way of interacting with people, one that's based on kindness, authenticity, and a deep respect for yourself and everyone else.
I love that. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one last question. Thinking about your note on true appreciation.
Yeah. What makes it feel real to you? What are those times where you've really felt seen, valued? And how can you cultivate that same feeling when you're interacting with others?
Those are some really powerful questions, and I really hope you spend some time thinking about them, because when we understand what true appreciation means to us, we can both give and receive it in ways that are, well, meaningful.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, this is just the start of your exploration. Keep asking questions, reflect, and keep trying to connect with the world in a way that feels real, fulfilling.
Thanks for coming along on this incredible deep dive with us. It's been amazing to explore all of this with you. Until next time, keep searching for those authentic connections.